We are talking today about children and their invisible friends, which is a very scary subject. And well, not totally scary, but there's some strange things going on. So let's talk about what's going on. You know, I've been doing investigations and I specialize in doing removal. So a lot of times when people contact me, they tell me that their one of their kids are complaining or won't sleep in their room or whatever, and we're going to be going over all of this because a lot of times people don't believe things because they go in their kid's room, or I was talking the other day about going in the basement and there was things down there and they don't see nothing. And how come kids can see things and adults don't? Now, we're going to be talking about that. Normally, as I said 100 times before, we see in wavelengths of light between 400 and 700 wavelength of light is what we see. Okay. Now, as you have heard, if you listen to these medical shows, as you get older, your vision narrows. So a lot of children, their vision is a lot wider than ours. Some kids can see 350. Some kids can see 750. And remember, I told you, we live in between two giant universes. We have the ultraviolet universe, which is the land of all these light creatures, what we call these light beings. We also have the ultraviolet the infrared universe, which is this land of all these dark creatures. You know, some of them are kind of scary. And where these two universes overlap each other is what we call the visible light spectrum, is where we live. We are the crabs on the beach. So we are visited by a lot of different types of creatures that live, that are not of our world, but they visit the beach. Okay. And says they come to the border of their universe. And that's where we see a lot of things. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit later, but most kids are not dealing with them. Most kids that have invisible friends, what they're actually saying, not to scare you, is dead people. Because as I talked about the other day, when people die, unfortunately, a lot of them don't cross over.
Not to scare you.
Not to scare you. We're only going into Halloween. We're not scaring you. Yeah. But kids see a lot of dead people. And they even made a movie about that. I see dead people. Okay, you know what I'm saying, don't you? Okay. And,
I see dead people.
Right. And the problem with kids, especially, there's certain, you know, not everybody die at 80, 90 years old. There's a lot of people that die before that. And people like to hang around the people that they did in life. And if you're an 80, 90-year-old person, you probably want to hang around the older people. But if you died in childhood, a lot of them like to hang around people of their old age, of their same age. And this is something that you notice when you get into ghost work. And this is a big problem, which I hate to tell you if you have this problem. If you live in an apartment complex which is next to an elementary school or a high school or something, a lot of those properties are full of ghosts. Because if you live in in an apartment complex, or if your house is next to a school, you have ghost kids. Or next to a high school, you have elementary, you know, high school kids. They're trying to hang around and communicate with the people that of their age group. And when you do investigations, you will see a lot of that. You will find kid ghosts or young ghosts. And if you live in an area where there is a lot of babies or a lot of people that have kids, you will also find a lot of very young female ghosts. Because a lot of them had kids or didn't have kids, but a lot of younger women, you know, like to hang around babies. And this is one reason why, you know, I get called in the houses too. Because, we have these baby monitors today, and people are picking up on the baby monitor that something is interacting with my baby. I'm watching this baby. The baby is playing with something, but I don't see something. And the baby is in the crib, and she's laughing and giggling and everything. And it gets kind of scary sometimes. Okay. Now, there's a lot of things with all of this. You got to take it in stride. Either there's a problem or there's not a problem. If it's not a problem, you don't want to be pushing the fire extinguisher, the fire alarm, for every little emergency.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
How do you know when it's a problem?
Okay, how do you know if it's a problem?
Yeah.
If there's complaints with the baby, most people don't want to have things interacting with the baby. So people are very protective of their babies. And if they think that, and if they're out of the room and have a baby monitor or something, or they notice that little spinning thing around above the baby crib, it's just spinning around and rotating and
twisting it. Yeah. Okay.
And you might be saying, why does that thing be moving sometimes? That's not, that thing be moving in the middle of the night. Okay. Now, and the baby's in there laughing and giggling and everything. If that bothers you, then maybe you need to call somebody. Maybe you need to do a little sage and holy water or whatever like that. But normally, in most cases, this is just, as I said, ghosts are like roaches. People get mad when I say that, but there's millions or billions of ghosts. And most ghosts are under the rules of coexistence. They're not trying to interfere with nobody. Right. They're just trying to be, they're just doing their ghost thing.
Someone is asking, are there baby ghosts? Are there such things as baby ghosts?
I have never ran into a baby ghost. They're probably, okay. If a ghost died as a baby, remember, progression is a voluntary thing. So all people are born with a light level of 10. And if you died when you were 6 months old, you cannot cross back into the light by yourself. So I think if you're super young, it's an automatic process. Okay. I have never ran across a baby ghost. Okay. I have never ran into that. I have ran across ghosts that are very young kids, 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, young kids that are ghosts. Okay. And a lot of time with them, they decided not to cross over because, as I said, they want to hang around that elementary school, or they hang around a park where other kids play a lot, and they hang around in that area. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Now, as what other question we have?
No, that's good so far.
Okay, so remember, if you got any questions, but as I said, I have never seen a baby ghost myself. Okay. Now, I have seen some very weird stuff in houses. Like one time I was in a house, this was like 15 years ago, and the lady had lots of dogs, and we was taking pictures with some special equipment, and we picked up all these cats, and we was like, and she had dogs. And we was like, why is there, we're picking up, pictures, ghost cats in your house. And it's very weird to get animal, that's very, very rare when you see spirits of animals. But this house had little kittens everywhere, little cats. And I asked her about that, and she said, I used to have a lot of cats years ago. I always had cats, and then I remarried, and then he didn't like cats, so we switched to dogs. So I don't know what happened there, but the house is there was just cats everywhere. Okay. But normally, animal spirits, we're not going to discuss that today, but I have ran across them on very few occasions. Most of the time, you just see people. Now, another time that attract ghosts. So what attract ghosts is like being next to a school, being next to a park, being next to things like that. You attract certain people. If you live next to a nursing home or a cemetery or something like that, you can attract the things of that area. Normally, or another area where ghosts like to be. Ghosts like watery areas. So if you live close to like a stream or a little creek or something like that, or a resaca, that's where ghosts like to hide during the daytime. Remember, most ghosts are under the rules of coexistence. So in the daytime, when people are home or after work, that is where the ghosts like to go, in a wooded area or a swampy water area, and they like to go in those areas. Okay. So, we was talking about ghosts and kids and imaginary friends. So, when you get into kids, what kids like to do, and young women, they want to interact with young kids. So a lot of time, some kids will actually talk directly to ghosts. And you will know that existing if you see your kid talking to the wall or talking to the corner, and your little girl is always in the corner over there talking. Okay. And the good thing with kids, you can ask them, who are you talking to? I'm talking to my friend. Your friend got a name? Yeah, her name's Mary. Okay. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Kids a lot of time will tell you what's going on. And if the kids are in the corner talking and doing things like that, that will give you an indication. As long as it's a friendly thing, again, if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's up to you. Okay. How you know it's a problem is if the kid don't like going in their room because they said, I don't like to sleep in my room because Billy keeps waking me up and Billy keeps bothering me. Who's Billy? It's the boy that lives in my closet. Okay. You shouldn't have boys in your closet. You understand what I'm saying, don't you? If you have that problem, you need to do something about it. And you can try to call somebody or just try at first to do what I do cleansing, but I tell people, try it yourself first. And if you doesn't work, then you can get professional help. Because the best thing that you can do if there's a problem, which you should be able to get very easily, is you can buy sage or holy water or things like that. And by praying and spraying and, things like that, you should be able to get rid of most things. Okay. Since we're on this subject, we're going to take a little diversion and talk about one thing you do not want to do if your kid is talking to something. You do not want to go and buy a protection candle or go and buy a spirit candle to protect your kids, because then you're calling a spirit to come in your house. And a lot of times when I do cleansings and they're complaining that they're seeing shadows, I will say, what happened in February of this year? Did you buy a candle or something? Oh yeah, we was having some problems, so I bought this protection candle. Well, there's a spirit in your house who's saying that. He's here to protect your house, and you called him. Okay. Did you call him? Well, I was having problems. I didn't know I was going to... Okay. If you don't want spirits in your house, don't call spirits in your house. Okay. You're just making the problem worse. If you're having a problem in the house, you can call on the light of God. You can call on Jesus, things like that. That's not a spirit. Okay. You can ask for, God to clean your house, or you want your house covered in white light, whoever you want it said. That's a personal thing. But you can do that, but do not call on spirits directly. The only spirit that I ever used in these problems, and I will spill the beans, which might make some people upset, is when there is a problem, I call on Saint Michael the Archangel sometime. To do a removal. Okay. And if there's somebody, like I told you, when a person died, they're supposed to cross over. If people are having trouble crossing, a lot of time I will call on the Virgin Mother, if it's a woman, to help them to cross. Or to call on, Jesus or God to help them to cross if they're hanging around the house too long. Because you don't want to, damn one of your relatives, you don't want somebody to rough them up. They just need to cross over. Okay. So let's get back to our subject. Is there any questions or anything clear about what I said so far?
Yeah, I think they're asking questions, but you're answering them. So,
excellent.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, some kids don't want to talk to ghosts, and some kids can't see ghosts. Because remember, ghosts are right outside of our vision. Okay, so some kids can't see them that well. So the ghost will try to help the kid out. Okay. One way of helping the kid out is the ghost can go into a toy. And this is the problem that they've always had with life-size dolls or Victorian dolls or Mexican ceramic dolls, or Chucky-sized dolls, anything that's life-size, which are made of the proportions of a real person, you have problems with. Because those things attract ghosts, and ghosts will try to communicate with your kid by being inside the doll. And then you see your kid talking to your doll. And if you want to find out if it's a problem or not, you just ask your kid. You're talking to your doll all the time. Do your doll ever talk back to you? Sometimes she does. And you're like, oh my gosh. No, your kids are very honest. Yeah. If you talk to them, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, and that's when it's time to be concerned, right?
Right.
When they're
doing things, or when they're having their little tea party, or when your kid come up and say, you said, okay, it's 8 o'clock, it's time for you to go to bed. Mary said I don't have to go to bed at 8 o'clock. Okay. Who's Mary? That's my doll. She told me I can stay up as long as I want to. Okay, that's when maybe you got a problem. See, kids will let you know. It's not broken until it's broken. But if you're having problems, ask your kids and they will let you know that there's a problem. Okay. So, but as I said, this is how this little game is played. But there is very little problems with things like Barbie dolls or things like that, because they are not made off of the proportions of a real person. The dolls that have problems are dolls that was modeled off of a real person. Like as I said, those porcelain dolls or Victorian dolls or things like that. Those dolls are known to have problems. Okay.
Life size.
Yes. And if you put life-size dolls in your kid's room, or if you get those dolls that look exactly like a little baby, they have those dolls, they look exactly like a little infant, and you put it in the crib with your little baby, okay. They might be having a conversation sometimes. You get what I'm saying? And you will see the baby playing with the baby. Okay. That's so cute. Okay. But anyway, if it's you just need to monitor these things. Okay.
And so if this is happening and you have a concern, you just call someone in to cleanse the place?
But you want to see how much of a problem it is. Okay. If this is an occasional problem, like...
Because it could be imaginary.
Right. Imaginary friends is not a problem. Where she's playing with her dolls and she's talking to her doll. It's only when the doll is talking back is the problem. Okay. Because you don't want the doll, you want to, kids can be easily influenced. And you don't want somebody telling your kid, no, Mary said I don't have to go to bed at 8 o'clock. Mary said I can stay up as long as I want to. And who's Mary? My doll, she told me.
Mary's not the parent. Okay. That's what I would say.
That's right. Okay. Mary needs to go. Yeah. Okay. Mary's out of here.
Mary needs to go to bed.
Mary's out of here. Okay. So that's when you know you have a problem. Since we're talking toys, there are some other toys that have problems too.
Call the Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Okay. When you have things like those Gremlin dolls or Furbies or things like that, those dolls are known to have, because these dolls are, which we talked about on a previous show, are fashioned off of some real creatures that exist, which are called, what we call those are called, I can't think of the name right now, Puna creatures. Puna creatures, these creatures that they're half human, half animal. Remember, it talks about in the book of Enoch that after the sons of God sins against women, they proceeded to sin against fish, reptiles, birds, and insects. How you sin with insects and birds, I don't have the slightest idea, but that's where you get these things that's half man, half bird, half man, half fish, half man, half this. Okay, some of those things are still around today. You get what I'm talking about? And when you get into these little weird creatures, Furbies and these little creatures, she liked to collect those things.
Well, but my kids,
Yeah, her kids are afraid of them. She likes them.
They don't like them.
Yes.
They say, Mom, those are so creepy.
Yeah, they're very creepy.
They don't like
and
them.
A lot of kids will talk to those. They will start telling you that those things. Now, your kids will tell you if it's a problem. If it's not a problem, but when your kids say, Mom, I don't like this toy no more.
Yeah.
I don't like this toy.
Or mine started talking to me in the middle of the night. Like all of a sudden it'll just come on.
Okay. And when your kids say, I don't want this toy no more, say, why you don't want this toy? Because this toy is being very mean to me. Okay.
Somebody saying used to own a Furby and it would start making sounds late at night. Yeah, I took it out. The batteries, the thing would still start making noises.
Okay, so if it's doing that to you,
yeah.
to kids, and kids again are very honest. They will tell you, Mom, I don't like this toy no more. I don't want this toy in my room. And if the kid don't want the toy in his room, get rid of the toy. Mm-hmm. Okay, and since we're talking about this, we're going to say something that is very common. Okay, that you should not do. If you're having trouble with that doll, okay, and you paid $80 for this doll, and your daughter don't like it, and she's complaining about it, and you paid $80, so you can just give it to your best friend. Okay, are you helping your best friend now by giving her the doll that has a problem? Okay, that is probably not the nice, friendly thing to do. If you're having problem with a toy, do not give your problems to your best friend or to the neighbor or put it at the flea market and sell it to somebody else. You know, that is not the thing to do. Because you're taking your problem and making it somebody else's problem.
Right.
And this is reason why, you know, the Catholic Church and other people warn people about you shouldn't buy things at flea markets and whatever because you don't know what people was doing with stuff.
Right. Because you can bring things into your house.
You can bring things in your house, yes.
Right.
And since we're on that subject, I'm going to tell you what to do if you do have a doll or something that's misbehaving or whatever. Okay. The best way to cleanse something, not only by using sage and holy water, you can also take something and put it out in the morning sun for 4 hours and bleach it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And that, in most cases, will turn it off.
Cleanse it.
Cleanse it. And if you do want to throw it away, you're going to put it in a white garbage bag or wipe it or wrap it in a white towel and put it in the garbage. Do not burn it. If you got a doll that's being super bad or you want to get rid of your Furby collection, do not start a big fire and throw everything. Oh my gosh, they make movies about stuff like that. Do not do that, okay? Because fire is energy. And if something is bad and you're giving it more energy, okay, they don't want a movie based off of what you did and that doll ends up back on your bed the next morning. Okay, you need to wrap it in a white towel, put it in a white garbage bag, and throw it away. Okay, the white will seal it, and hopefully it will be buried in the ground and it will be sealed. We're doing okay in questions?
Yeah, we're good. No,
okay.
Just
because this is a very simple subject. But the best thing to do with anything that you're having trouble with is to do that. So we talked over things like that in toys. And I've been in houses where people have doll collections and everything.
Yes, hello.
Most of the time, you do not have problems. But you will know that one doll over there, like in my house around 10 years ago, I had this clown that hung in the corner. He hung in the corner for like a year or so. And then I would start feeling like this clown is looking at me. And sometimes I would just say, is that clown, did the head just turn on that thing? And it just started freaking earing me out. And after a few weeks of that, I decided to take the clown down. Okay.
Wrap it in a white
towel. See, you will know if there's a problem. And if you have a doll collection and this one doll keeps freaking you out, maybe you need to have that doll collection minus one doll. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. You don't have to get rid of all the dolls. It's just that one bad apple. Okay. And it may not make any sense. It may not feel right. But why that clown hung in the corner all that time, and then it just started freaking me out all of a sudden. I felt like it was watching me. How come before I never felt that way? Okay. And then it got to the point where I didn't want to sit in the living room anymore because I felt like that thing was watching me. So I took it down and got rid of the problem. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So this is what we can do. So we're to the midpoint. What I wanted to do before we get into some stories about some things that people had going wrong with them, I wanted, to make sure that people understand, because this is very straightforward. You don't, the best complaint you have is to talk to your kids. 90% of the times, if there's a toy that you're having a problem with, your kids will let you know. And if your kid is talking about, I don't like this doll, or that's with toys. Mm-hmm. So, other things that your kids will complain about. I'm also called into people's houses is because the little boy don't want to sleep in his room anymore. Every night he's climbing into their parents' bed. Ask the boy, how come you don't like to sleep in his room, in your room? Mm-hmm. Just like when I was a kid, we went over yesterday. Mm-hmm. I was saying things in my room. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kids are very honest. They will tell you there's something under the bed, or there's this shadow, or this thing in the window keep looking at me. Okay. You need to look into those things. Okay. Because kids are very honest. A lot of times there's something, and it may not be a ghost or a spirit. It could be a squirrel. It could be an owl. It could be, who knows? You just need to look into it because your kids should go to you first. And if your kids can't come to you, then they're going to go to other people. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. And you want to solve that problem before it becomes a major problem. Mm-hmm. Okay. And, but 90% of the time, we don't have these problems, but sometimes it do become a problem. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to get into now when it do become a problem. Because remember, there is the world of the living and the world of the spirit world. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ghosts are not a part of our world. They're not supposed to try to possess anything in this world. As we was talking the other day, if your husband died and a few years later you want to remarry, if your husband didn't cross over, he can't be trying to stop you from remarrying or whatever, or knocking things down or whatever. But sometimes with ghosts, they do try to do this. And this is the problem we get with possession, where a ghost will try to take possession of a person or possession of a child, or every time you feel that presence. Okay, remember, it's your house, it's your kids. If you don't want things messing with your kids or whatever, if they're human, non-human, ghost, spirit, whatever, you need to do something about it. Mm-hmm. So we only talked about ghosts so far. We're going to talk about a problem with spirits now. If we have no questions, we're good to go. So let's talk about not everything that your kids have invisible friends are ghosts. Sometimes there's spirits in your house. And spirits is a bigger problem than ghosts. If you have spirits talking to your kids, then you need definitely to go to help. How do you know when spirits are talking to your kids? Mm-hmm. Because your kids will start changing. And your kids will start doing things. And start changing their way of dress. And your kid want to paint his room black. And he wants to do all this stuff. You're like, why do you want to paint your room black? And talk to him. And he got all these. And you're like, who told you about all of this stuff? And he's painting all these dragons on the wall, and he got this. And where did you get this from? Mm-hmm. And you will find out that something is whispering to him. Okay. We are very susceptible to whispers. That's what spirits do. They whisper to people. And a lot of people, the Bible talks about something called discernment. You have to know your inner voice. Because we all have spirit guides. But some of these voices are not good voices. Okay. And you have to have, like I was talking the other day, you just went out last night and got home super late and drunk, and you're saying, no, I'm going to stay home today. I need to stay home and spend some time with my kids. And that voice is saying, come on. We need to go out. Let's go out. Okay. If you have that problem, something is talking to you. You don't need something that's, you need to do what you need to do. You need to be a parent. You need to take care of your family. You need to pay your bills. You need to, you know what obligations you have. And when you got that voice in your head that keeps bugging you about, hey, let's go and get drunk. Hey, let's go and get high. Hey, let's go and do this. Hey, let's go and do that.
That's not the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you have that problem, you need to look into that problem. Because something is trying to get you to do bad. And people tell me that all the time. It's like I want to quit drinking. I try to to cut down on my drug use and whatever. But every time I try, it's like that voice inside of me. It won't stop. Okay. You don't need, life is hell enough on your own. You don't need somebody to help you to lose your job, to lose your wife.
Okay, so I have a question.
To mess up your life. You don't need that. Yes.
When people come to you and say they have that problem, what do you do? Like if they
What I do
your help?
is, for one, I identify the problem of what it is it is talking to you. Are you talking to a ghost? Are you talking to a spirit? Or what are you talking to? And then I would say 75% of the cases, if a spirit is hanging around you, is hanging around you for a reason. You did something to attract that spirit. Okay. You can have ghosts hanging around you for no reason, because ghosts are always looking for a place to hide. Okay. But most of the time, if a spirit is hanging around you, you did something to attract the spirit. Because if you was hanging around people or attending things, or you was doing something, or you burnt that candle, So what I do when a person has spirit problem, I find out what it is, and then I go back to the date and I will say what happened in January of last year. It was early in January last year. Did you go somewhere? I went to this party. Oh, it was really okay. And people was doing everything. And okay. And did something weird happen at that party? Well, I was outside and I don't know what it was, but okay. You was a worm on the hook and you got bit. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Okay. That's, everything starts at a point. And that's by finding out what you did to attract that, then I can reverse it. Okay, because I need to first find out what did you do, or what happened, or did you burn that candle, or did you buy that bracelet, or whatever you did. Okay, but with spirits, normally there's an event that started the problem. With ghosts, they're like roaches. You don't have to do anything to attract roaches. They're just, roaches are roaches. You get what I'm saying? But with spirit creatures, most of the time, there's an event where they were attracted.
Comments.
Yes. But normally when they're spirits, as I said, what spirits do, they do not talk to, ghosts are dead people. Ghosts will have conversation with you. They talk to your kids. Spirits don't have conversation with people. Spirits whisper to people. And spirits will try to get you to do things. Okay. And as I told you, spirits cannot touch anything in our world because they're made out of subtle matter, we're made out of gross matter. So a spirit doesn't need you to go to take courses in school. A spirit doesn't need you to go to Mass on Sunday. A spirit doesn't need you to stay home and watch TV with your kids, but the spirit needs you if he wants to do something in our world. And what he wants to do in our world is have some fun. Fun means getting drunk, getting high, getting in trouble, racing on the street, fooling around with those girls. Okay, that's what he wants you for. Okay. That's the reason he's whispering about not staying home. Let's go out and do something. And as long as you're sober and in control of yourself, he cannot control you. That's why he wants you high. He wants you drunk. He wants you... You understand what I'm saying, don't you? And then people will tell you, boy, when you get drunk, you're like a totally different person. Okay. Because you are a totally different person when you're drunk. It's not funny, believe me. Anyway, yeah, very scary. But a lot of people have these problems. Okay. And if you know that you're having these problems, maybe you need to call me or somebody else. I told you the magic word. You need something called a light worker. You go and find a light worker and say, I think I'm having some problems. I think something is whispering to me because I try to stay home with my kids and these voices keep trying to get me to go out all the time. And I don't want to go out. I want to stay home. And these voices keep telling me to go out, go and get drunk, go and buy beer, go and do this. And we'll take care of that problem real fast. Very, very fast. So, we're doing good, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so we talked about ghosts. We talked about spirits.
Right.
Now, that covers 80% of things that are talking to your kids. Unfortunately, not everything I did is talking to your kids is a ghost of the spirit. You also got Puna creatures, I was saying. Sometimes people will see these little tiny, sometimes people even take pictures of them. These little tiny people-like things, or these little, some of this stuff is just very weird. These little half animal, half human figures, what they call gnomes or elves, or they have different names in different parts of the country, or people, these little tiny creatures prey on people. But a lot of time, these little creatures prey on people, I hate to say this, who are not 100% here. So a lot of people, especially if your kids are kind of slow or artistic or whatever, they will talk about, oh, I see this little funny, froggy-like thing, and he comes and play with me, and he will tell you these little stories about that. Because they like people that they can control and handle, who is not 100% there. They like to pray with people who are moving kind of slow, or people that, mental processes are not 100%. And a lot of time with those types of people, if you have someone in your house with Down syndrome or whatever, you will get problems with these types of creatures or whatever. Because they like to prey on those type of people, unfortunately. And they got enough problems on their own. We have a question?
So spirits are not deceased people? Someone's asking.
Okay, a dead person is a ghost. A spirit is a spirit creature. Remember, with spirits, there's two types of spirits. Back to the book of Enoch. Enoch said the earth was made for man, the heavens was made for spirits. Heaven-bound spirits are considered good spirits. Earth-bound spirits are considered bad spirits. Spirits are not supposed to be here. That's the word angel mean messenger. Spirit creatures only supposed to be on earth to deliver a message. They're not supposed to be here. They're not supposed to be here talking to your kids. They're not supposed to be here watching your wife take a shower. They're not supposed to be sleeping with you at night, crawling in your bed. They're doing a lot of things that they're not supposed to be doing. Okay. Because this is not their world. They're here because they're earthbound. Okay. And since they're earthbound, they want something to play with. And there's 7 billion of us they can play with. And boy, do they have a lot of fun playing with us. Okay. But they can play with your neighbor. They're not playing with you. They're not playing with me. I'm not going there. And no, we will never get rid of roaches. We will never get rid of bugs. But the neighbor's house can have a bug problem. I'm not having roaches and ghosts in my house. Okay. You just we can't solve the world problem. You can solve your problem. And your concern is you and your family. Right? Okay. In your house, there shouldn't be no ghosts. There shouldn't be no spirits. Nothing should be talking to your kids. Nothing should be talking to you or trying to influence your wife and you will notice this also. Another type that I mentioned, that I skipped, because they're not kids, they're not adults. Teenagers. Teenagers have a lot of trouble with spirits, especially when they're just going through those teenage years, and you see your daughter was super nice and sweet, and she was just like Hannah Montana, and then she turns into, you know what I'm talking about? Okay. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Okay. If your daughter is going through that, you need to have a little talk with her, because a lot of times she's being influenced. It may be bad friends. Sometimes she got whispers. Sometimes things are telling her, you do this or do that. And all of a sudden she went, and now she's acting like Miley Cyrus. Okay. And what happened? She was so nice and sweet, and now your girl just went insane. Okay. And talk to her about, where do you get the ideas about dressing like that and acting this way? Oh, this cool, and a lot of them, if you have that communication with your kids, they will tell you what is going on. Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
From
so,
Hannah to Miley. Yeah.
We are covering all of this. But remember, you are the king of your castle. Your castle is your house. If you want to keep control of your castle and your house, keep all the craziness out of your house. And don't let people bring craziness in your house. This is another problem I have with doing cleansing. Okay. Like this one house I have been to twice so far. Is every time one of their relatives come into the house, the kid is yelling and screaming and whatever. And I told this lady the problem 2 times. And I told her there's nothing I can do about it. Because the problem is that relative got something inside of him. And when he comes, he brings his friend. And kids can see things. And kids, like I was talking the other day about that kid who knows that the teacher has cancer. Kids will tell you, oh, that person got darkness inside of them. Okay. And when your kids are telling you things like that, kids can see things. Kids can see. Okay. And when you got people that have problems, I told the lady, if he want to come over, have him to come over when the kid is not there, or let the kid stay somewhere else that when he's going to be visiting. Because every time the kid is there and that person there, the kid is yelling and screaming because there's something inside of that relative. I don't have permission to do anything because it's a grown person. You get what I'm saying? But the kid reacts every time that person come over. Okay. Your house is your castle. Don't let people bring their garbage. And I have had it in my house, where I have had women come over to my house and they want to smoke their weed and do this and that. You can do that stuff outside. You're not doing no, not in my house. Okay. You get what I'm saying? My house, I have Zen in my house. My house is super peaceful. It's just me, my cats. We're no craziness. The craziness is outside. Okay. You are not bringing craziness into my house. Okay. And if you don't rule your house, then other people will. Any questions? Did I cover all this subject? So we went over kids. We went over the problem with babies. We went over the problem with baby monitors and everything. The people, sometimes it has been recorded several times, that people hear voices on their baby monitors. If it's not your voice on the baby monitor, okay. It's a ghost. Okay. Ghosts can be picked up. That's the reason EMP is a recording device. And your baby monitor is a recording device. So when you play that thing back and you hearing all kinds, you get what I'm saying, don't you? Okay. You should not be hearing voices on your baby monitor. Okay. And you got to be careful of kids. Let's talk about one other thing that's super scary real quick, because we definitely don't want to go into this. Now, this is mentioned in the Bible about you know, that that the women of the Israelites was wearing they was wearing pendants, what they call amulets, to protect their babies. Why was they wearing amulets to protect their babies? That is why people sing their babies lullabies, to sing their baby to sleep and to protect them. A lullaby is really called a Lilithby, is to keep certain things away. Okay. And this is why hospitals have guards, especially around nurseries. There's people that steal babies. Okay. That's some of that get into some of this vampire stuff that we're not talking about tonight. Okay. But you got to protect your kids. And when and if you got, normally to get involved in that, you need to know somebody who is into the dark stuff. And if you see somebody who's in the dark stuff, or they're into weird stuff, and they keep eyeing your baby and hanging around your kids, or hanging around you and you're pregnant or whatever, there's, unfortunately, pregnant women need bodyguards these days. It happens where people will kidnap a pregnant lady and try to cut her baby out of her. Mm-hmm. The world we live in a very scary place. And if you hang around weird people, okay, you need to be careful. And if you got weird friends and you know that one girl is very weird and she come over to your house and she's going through your stuff and whatever, and you'd be lying her, maybe you need to,
yeah.
She ain't coming over your house no more.
There have been movies about that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And if you got little kids and whatever, and every time this person come over, they're always hanging around the baby crib all the time and always doing this and always okay. Mm-hmm. You need to, I'm not saying anything, but maybe that person shouldn't be around your baby anymore. Okay. Because no more normally when babies go missing, is somebody that the family knew who took the baby. It's not some total stranger 90% of the time. It's someone that they knew. A neighbor, an uncle, a cousin, you get what I'm saying, don't you? Okay. That's how they get through your defense system, is that they knew you. Okay. You trust. Remember, we trust with our eyes open. We do not trust with our eyes closed, right? Okay. And you have to protect yourself, your family, and your loved ones. Excellent. So we went through all of that. And with kids, remember, in closing, the best thing to do with kids is to listen to your kids. Quit slapping them in the back of the head. Quit telling them you're just making that up. And your kids will tell you. If the kid is saying, Mommy, there's something in my room. Mommy, I've done cleansing in houses where I live in the valley. I hate to say this. When the parents are into Santa Muerte and they got the statue in their house, and the kid is complaining that they're seeing this thing in their room, and they call me in and I say, well, she's in there. Okay. And I have had it where I've had cleansed half of the house and didn't cleanse the other half. Because if they're into that, they can have it on their half of the house. But on the half where the baby is at, I cleanse that half. You get what I'm saying? This way the baby can sleep and whatever. Okay, you can do whatever you want to. You're an adult. But you don't have to involve your kids in your craziness. If you want to do the crazy over there. Don't do it around your kids. Mm-hmm. That makes sense, right? Okay. Your kids are supposed to be innocent. And a part of being a parent is to keep that bubble of innocence around your kids. And I have met some very weird people, some very strange people. Mm-hmm. And they do a very bad job of protecting their kids. Okay. Mm-hmm. But you need to do your part.
Someone's asking, can you explain one more time about how kids see spirits, the frequency, light, and we can't?
Okay.
The difference.
As you get older, your vision narrows. The average person see between 400 to 700 wavelength of light is what we can see. Mm-hmm. Some kids can see 350, some kids can see 750. The analogy is that we're watching TV. we're all locked on channel 5. Some kids can see channel 4. Some kids can see a little bit of channel 6 or 7. You understand? It's not totally clear, but they can see. Okay. And that's the reason kids can see things that you can't. But your kids will tell you what they're seeing. And when I was a kid, I told my parents all the time, there's things in the house, there's things in my room, there's things in this. I told them. They didn't believe me 90% of the time. But your kids are honest. They will tell you. Listen to your kids. And when your kids are telling you, you know, if it's an imaginary friend, she's talking to her doll, that's not a problem. But when the doll starts telling you and she starts saying what her doll told her, then you need to get professional help. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And if it sounds scary or if something's bothering you, that's when you go for help. Okay. And when your kids are telling you, Mom, I'm scary, and your little boy saying, Mom, I don't want this doll no more. And you're like, I just paid $40 for that. I don't like it in my room anymore. I don't want it in my room. Why are you going to force it to be in his room and he's screaming and yelling? If he doesn't want it in his room, then take it out of his room. Maybe he knows something you don't. Right? Makes sense to me. So this is our conversation for today. This was not super scary. You'll be able to sleep tonight. We didn't,
Not too deep.
Yeah, this was not very deep. It's just something called common sense. Right? Okay. And just listen to your kids and other people. And when you notice strange behavior from your kids or from you, that's called discernment. You're going to start looking to the strange behavior because nothing strange should be going on. And you are the first line of defense.